everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's your favorite fox here, flashlight in hand, ready to brave another trip into the shadows. Today we're diving deep into Tormented Souls 2, a sequel that not only returns to the roots of classic survival horror, but does it with a new level of polish and ambition that proves this genre still has plenty of life left in it. So, if you like your scares with a side of nostalgia and your puzzles with a healthy dose of panic, you're in for a treat. Let's set the stage. Tormented Souls 2 picks up roughly 6 months after the events of the first game. Caroline Walker is back as our lead, and she's still recovering from the trauma she endured at Wildberger Hospital. But as any seasoned horror protagonist knows, peace never lasts long. One night, Caroline receives a disturbing vision of her sister Anna, and this vision pulls her right back into a nightmare she thought she'd escaped. The trail leads her to Villa Hesse, a remote mountain community with a dark and secretive history. Now, if you played the first Tormented Souls, you know what to expect in tone. Creepy environments, grotesque enemies, fixed camera angles, and a story full of unsettling mystery. But this time around, everything feels richer and more refined. The developers, Dual Effect, have taken the foundation they built and rebuilt it from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5. The result is a game that looks absolutely stunning, in a dark, haunting way, of course. Shadows stretch realistically across old wooden floors, candles flicker with unsettling warmth, and distant fog hangs over mountain paths like a ghost that refuses to leave. Right away you can tell how much more cinematic this sequel is. The first game had plenty of atmosphere, but Tormented Souls 2 turns that atmosphere into a full-on visual experience. The game uses motion capture performances for every major scene, and the facial animations are far more expressive this time. Caroline no longer looks like a lifeless mannequin reciting lines in a haunted house. She looks like a person, tired, scared, determined, and carrying emotional weight. That makes every scene, every moment of fear or revelation, hit harder. And since we're talking about presentation, it's worth noting that the developers also gave us full English voice acting with all new actors. It might seem like a small change, but it makes a huge difference. Dialogue feels more natural, emotional delivery feels believable, and the characters come alive in a way the first game struggled with. When Caroline speaks, you hear the exhaustion in her voice, the desperation to find answers, and the quiet strength that makes her such a compelling lead. But atmosphere and acting can only take you so far, right? What about gameplay? This is where Tormented Souls 2 really flexes its improvements. Combat has been overhauled, and it feels tighter, faster, and much more responsive. Gone are the clunky tank-style controls that had you turning in slow motion while a monster was politely waiting to eat your face. Now, Caroline can aim, dodge, and react with smoother transitions. Combat feels less like a chore and more like a tense, calculated dance for survival. Enemy variety is another massive step up. The first game was great, but definitely guilty of repeating a few too many monster types. This sequel fixes that with a wide range of grotesque, inventive horrors that each require slightly different tactics to deal with. Some are fast and unpredictable, some are slow but hit like trucks, and others are just plain weird. You never quite know what's around the corner, and that unpredictability keeps you on edge. Exploration also gets a major boost thanks to the expanded world of Villa Hesse. Instead of just wandering through hospital corridors or small interiors, you'll be exploring an interconnected mountain community. There are eerie outdoor paths covered in mist, decrepit churches echoing with whispers, forgotten mines, dimly lit homes, and even snowy wilderness areas. The variety helps keep things fresh, and each new environment adds a layer of storytelling through visual detail. You'll see signs of the town's downfall, strange rituals hinted at in the background, and clues that piece together the mystery behind Caroline's visions. Now, let's talk about the gameplay length. Tormented Souls 2 offers more than 14 hours of content, which is a significant increase compared to the first game's runtime. That means more exploration, more puzzles, and more opportunities to die horribly before figuring out what you're supposed to do. But in all seriousness, that extended playtime allows the story and pacing to breathe more naturally. You get to know the setting, the lore, and the stakes at a more deliberate pace without feeling rushed. And speaking of pacing, this game absolutely nails the survival horror rhythm. There's a careful balance between combat, exploration, and puzzles. You'll often find yourself holding your breath as you try to conserve ammunition, listening carefully for something moving just outside the frame. Every shot counts, every resource matters, and that old-school tension of not knowing if you'll make it to the next save point returns in full force. It's stressful, but in the best possible way. Now, as impressive as all that sounds, the developers didn't forget about accessibility. Tormented Souls 2 includes multiple difficulty modes and new accessibility options, making it easier for a wider range of players to enjoy. If you found the original too punishing or frustrating, you can adjust the challenge without losing the horror experience. On the other hand, if you're a glutton for punishment, the hardest difficulty still exists to make sure you question all your life decisions. Performance-wise, the Unreal Engine 5 upgrade shines. Lighting and textures are crisp, animations are smooth, and the cinematic cutscenes play out seamlessly. You can tell a lot of effort went into polish this time around. Even the smaller environmental effects, like dust floating through a beam of light or frost forming on cold windows, add subtle realism that keeps you immersed. Of course, no game is perfect, and Tormented Souls 2 still carries a few quirks from its old-school inspiration. Fixed camera angles are back, and while they add cinematic flair and tension, they can occasionally make movement a bit awkward. Some of the puzzles also fall into the category of how on earth was I supposed to figure that out, which can lead to moments of frustration. And while the combat is much better, it's not going to rival modern action games. It's meant to be deliberate and measured, not flashy. That said, these design choices are intentional. The game isn't trying to be a fast-paced shooter or an open-world action adventure. It's trying to recapture the feeling of late 90s survival horror, where every room felt like a test of courage and every encounter carried real risk. In that sense, Tormented Souls 2 succeeds completely. It's not just scary, it's uncomfortable in the right way. You never feel safe, and that's exactly how a horror game like this should make you feel. Story-wise, the sequel deepens the mystery. It's darker, more personal, and full of emotional tension. Caroline's connection to her sister becomes the emotional core of the narrative, and as you uncover more about the curse surrounding Villa Hess, you start to see how her past continues to haunt her. The game sprinkles hints throughout, slowly revealing the truth, while keeping you guessing until the final act. The cutscenes play a big role in this, too. They're more cinematic than before, with great direction and solid performances that make each twist more impactful. The drama unfolds like a horror film, and the seamless blend of gameplay and story moments keeps you immersed the whole way through. So, what makes Tormented Souls 2 stand out? For one, it doesn't just copy its predecessor, it evolves it. Everything feels more confident. The visuals, the combat, the story pacing, the character work, it all shows that the developers have grown since the first game. It's a sequel that builds on what worked and fixes what didn't, while still staying loyal to its survival horror identity. Now for a quick breakdown of pros and cons. The pros: beautiful visuals powered by Unreal Engine 5, an engaging story with real emotional stakes, improved combat and controls, tons of new enemy designs, and a great variety of environments that keep the game from ever feeling repetitive. The English voice acting is solid, the cutscenes are cinematic, and the longer runtime means you get a full experience without feeling shortchanged. The cons: some puzzles are still a little too cryptic for their own good, fixed camera angles can be disorienting for players new to the style, and certain moments of combat may still feel stiff compared to modern standards. But honestly, if you're playing Tormented Souls, you probably came for that classic vibe anyway. So, final verdict time. Tormented Souls 2 is a confident, chilling, and highly atmospheric sequel that captures everything great about survival horror while updating it just enough to feel fresh. It's creepy, intense, and beautifully crafted. It doesn't try to reinvent the wheel, it sharpens it. For me, it's an easy 9 out of 10. It's a love letter to fans of old-school horror, wrapped in modern visuals and delivered with care. It's longer, smarter, scarier, and more refined in every way. If you loved the first game, you're going to be blown away by this one. If you skip the original, this is the perfect time to jump in. You'll appreciate the evolution, and you'll probably sleep with the lights on afterward. And that's all for today's review. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Tormented Souls 2, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more Fox-approved horror reviews, and tell me in the comments what scares you the most in survival horror: running out of ammo, getting lost, or realizing the thing you thought was a statue just blinked. Until next time, this is your favorite Fox signing off, reminding you to keep your flashlight charged, your save points frequent, and your nerves steady. Because in Tormented Souls 2, curiosity doesn't just get you in trouble, it gets you trapped in Villa Hess with no way out.